Today's World Press Conference is therefore to draw global attention to the evil plots by agents of destabilization led by the ICC, Amnesty International and Transparency International to rule the peace and stability of Nigeria through fictitious charges that they are now cooking up against the leadership of the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria under a new report that ICC is about releasing. This is why we salute the courage of the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in boldly stating that the subversive activities of the ICC, Amnesty International, and Transparency International are undermining the ability to effectively fight Boko Haram, ISWAP, and other terrorist threats. We want the government to go further in taking actual steps to curtail the excesses of the identified groups. We therefore demand that the federal government immediately calls Amnesty International and Transparency International to order, which includes writing formal complaints with cease and desist orders to the international headquarters of these organizations. This should be backed with formal protest letters to the embassies or high commissions of the country where these organizations have their headquarters. They cannot continue to jeopardize the safety of Nigeria for whatever reasons. As for the ICC, we demand that the federal government immediately set up a committee to review Nigerians' continued membership of these monsters. The committee's terms of reference should include an integration of the proprietary of Nigeria remaining a signatory to the Rome Statute when it is now apparent that its creating is being wielded as a weapon of mass destruction against Nigeria. The federal government must ensure that this is done in the shortest time possible. As for ICC, Amnesty International, and Transparency International, we want to put them on notice that the day of reckoning will eventually come and they shall answer to their crimes against Nigeria, because ultimately the will of a people becomes the highest court. The ICC, for instance, hunts Nigeria's military officers and commanders in a way that appears as it is legitimately investigating war crimes and crimes against humanity. Amnesty International keeps up the charade of pretending to monitor adherence to human rights protocols, while Transparency International has perfected the strategy for fighting corruption in transactions that never took place. Several Nigerian groups and organizations had in the past expressed concern about the true intent and agenda of these organizations without Nigerians paying heed. The recent declaration by ICC that it has grounds to investigate Nigeria's military for rights violation in the war against terrorism in the northeast of Nigeria. However, this is merely to facilitate in the misguided report from the ICC. The other subversive content in the report included that it placed the Nigerian armed forces on the same pedestal with Boko Haram, ISWAP terrorists. This was no error or accident. It was a calculated attempt to diminish the country's military and evaluate Boko Haram fighters to the level of a national arm ahead of when its Amnesty International allies will market a negotiation program. Nigeria will then be concerned into negotiating with terrorists as if they are a sovereign country. Worryingly, Boko Haram, ISWAP, is merely a card in the evil plot but put together by ICC with its Amnesty International and Transparency International collaborators. The ICC reports clearly identified other white cards in the nefarious agendas. It listed the Islamic Movement of Nigeria, IMN, and the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, as victims without acknowledging the crimes they have committed against Nigerians and continue to commit. It also failed to properly name them as terrorist group, which suggests that ICC is prejudiced to the point where it has refused to recognize Nigerian competent judiciary that prescribe these groups. ICC had consequently lived up to its billing as a lynch mob that exists solely to vilify, victimize, and humiliate African countries by dragging their leaders before it, even when no crimes are committed, with the flip side that leaders of some countries can order drone strikes that kill women and children on industrial scale of invade sovereign nations to ruin them without being held to account. This racist disposition has been repeatedly reinforced by the ICC, and it seems it is now on the path to becoming rabid with its latest incursion into Nigeria. Additional fact about the ICC's activities is that the so-called evidence is relied on to arrive at a decision to investigate the Nigerian military was largely produced by Amnesty International. The negligible portion of the evidence that was not produced by the international NGO was sourced from its local affiliate that have subcontract to malign the reputation of Nigerian security forces. A lot has been said about how Amnesty International sources its taints evidence, its coached respondents on what to say, and has even gone as far as using paid actors as interviewees. Its Nigerian country, Osai Ojigo, during recent protests in Nigeria, infamously accused the military of committing genocide, but could not provide a single shred of evidence other than to retort that the armed forces have a practice of taking away evidence that when she was pressed for proof of her claim during a television interview. This same Amnesty International had been implicated in passing military intelligence obtained in the course of its works to Boko Haram terrorists. Such the insurgents were then able to evade military operations launched against them and simultaneously able to launch deadly attacks. Whenever the military issues classified advisories about areas that humanitarian and rights groups should avoid amnesty. International passed same to terrorists until it was found out which promoted it to become more antagonistic of the country, of the military. We have not also lost sight of the fact that Nigeria was denied access to buy weapons on the basis of lies that Amnesty International packaged as reports. This denial allowed the terrorists to boldly operate for a while until the military leadership that came with President Muhammadu Buhari's administration found innovative ways to get the needed hardware and logistics to prosecute the anti-terrorism war. This ability to fight the war against Boko Haram, ISWAP, and other brands of terrorists is what has railed Amnesty International to a point where it will tell just lies to undermine the fighting capacity of the armed forces. Gentlemen of the press, we invite you to note that each time Amnesty International discovers that it is not able to hold back the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, it outsources the function of Transparency International, which then bring allegations of corruption against the military. It is instructive to note that the supposed corruption is sometimes around weapons that Amnesty International in due sanction have prevented the country from buying. They fail to explain how money, what has not been released, can be stolen. It must be further noted that Amnesty International and Transparency International are operated in Nigeria by the same cabal. The same set of subversive saboteurs overlap on the board of both organizations, and they often compare notes on how best to go about their contract to undermine Nigeria. They have the same media contractors that they use to spend whatever damages fictitious report that they want to publish against the country. This media asset was deployed for promoting the ICC report